Andrea DeHaan, and I am the Outreach Coordinator for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, welcoming you to today's virtual tour of our college programs. And today we are focusing specifically on programs related to politics and perspective. We'll have several faculty members and advisors joining us today to talk about these programs in greater detail. And we know that you as attendees, we can't see you and we can't hear you, but I do have access to the chat function and I have access to the Q&A. So I would invite you to use those two options on your WebEx screen to communicate with us. If you have questions as you're listening today, if you have problems with tech that you want to let me know about, you'll see that you've got that bubble that looks like a speech bubble. That's the chat function. And if you hit the more function or go through there, you should be able to pull up the Q&A as well. So please let us know if we can help you with anything, answer any questions, and feel free to give us a shout out and just let us know where you're listening from this morning. So just to give you an overview of what you can expect today, we are going to be, and I apologize because I'm looking at my slide and I realized that I'm staring at a sentence that wasn't updated. So I apologize about that. We are not meeting with majors in anthropology, sociology, literature, and so on. Instead, we are meeting with presenters in history, in political science, and in journalism and communications today. And we will start with an overview of our college to give you just a general overview of what CHaSS is about, and then we'll be moving to breakout sessions. So we encourage you to stay on the meeting for its entirety, but if you're just here to learn about history, for example, we'll be focused on that at approximately 11:45. If you're here to learn about political science and international studies, we'll be focused on that at approximately 12. And if you're here to learn about programs in journalism and communications, we'll be focused on that from approximately 12:15 to the conclusion of at 12:30. And we will have some additional information at the conclusion, which is why I encourage you, if you're available, to stay on for the entirety of our talk. We will be recording this talk as well, so if there are things you need to go back and check, you'll have the opportunity to do that from our website in a few days. With that, I'm going to turn things over to my co-presenter, Tom Lilligren. We'll be letting our other presenters introduce themselves at the start of their breakout sessions. And Tom, I'm going to move to the next slide and let you take it from here.
Thanks, Andrea. And again, my name's Tom Lilligren. I'm the director over the College of Humanities and Social Science Advising Center. And I appreciate the chance to talk to you for a little bit. I'm going to introduce a little bit about what the College of Humanities and Social Sciences is. And then I'll dive into some of the different politics and perspective programs that we have before we break out into our different sessions with those areas. We're a really diverse college. We have a lot of different programs. We cover a lot of territory. But what unites us is that all of our programs in some way are focusing on really what it means to be human and trying to understand why we do what we do. And we look at that through a lot of different lenses. The motto that we have for our college is think, discover, create. And I think this is something that we really put into practice in each of our programs. So what this means is that with thinking, we ask big questions. Our programs are answering some of the biggest questions that we have today. So looking at trying to understand political changes in our country or around the world, or understand broad social movements, not only today, but understand how that fits into the context with things that have come before. We discover. So all of our faculty are also engaged in research. So as you're having classes, you're going to be learning a lot about the subjects that you're studying, but you're going to be learning from people who are actively engaged in creating and coming up with new knowledge as well. So you'll be learning from experts in the field who are creating new knowledge and discovering new things. And as students, oftentimes you can be involved in that. So we have students who are engaged in their own personal research projects or helping faculty with the research that they're doing as well. And we create. Some of our majors, it's really obvious the things they do to create. So we have journalists who are creating new works of media in broadcast or in written journalism. We have writers in creative writing who are doing new works of literature. But I think in a lot of other majors, we create in different ways, and our students create in different ways too. We have students who are entrepreneurs who are starting up businesses or new things in nonprofits or humanitarian work. And a lot of our students are creating connections with people. So we have political science students who are working in embassies or in helping with political campaigns, or history students who are using original sources to develop new connections with historical events and people in the past and present as well. So I think each of this Think, Discover, Create is something that we really put into practice. Another thing that we do a lot with our program is our goal is that you're really going to be, actually, let's see. So we have a few different, so we have two broad different areas in our college. We have the humanities and we have the social sciences. So in the humanities, this is really looking to understand who it is, again, what makes us human. We do this through looking at literature and the languages we speak, understanding different cultures behind that as well. And then in programs like communication studies, trying to figure out how we can most effectively communicate. In our social sciences, we're trying to understand what it is, why it is that we do what we do. And this can be through the lens of sociology and anthropology, looking at culture and looking at why we do what we do, is how society functions and the structures in that. But it also includes political science, looking at the legal and the political structures and how that influences the way society works and our behavior. And journalism, trying to really understand how we report and communicate and make sense of things as they're going on. We also have a lot of different minors in our programs. And these can be, if you know you're going to major in the humanities and social sciences, awesome. You can see I'm not going to go into detail on a lot of these because we have too many to even really to talk about in this short time. But if you're interested in a major, a minor can be something great to add along with that. Some majors are going to require that you do a minor as well. And that can be one of these minors through the humanities and social sciences. We'd also encourage you, it could be great to do a minor that's outside of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences to give yourself additional skills as well. So these are a great way to give yourself some additional expertise in areas that interest you also. And we have certificates that are somewhat similar to minors, but where you're getting a specific a background in these additional areas. And we're actually going to be having some additional certificates coming on board that we'll be sure to let you know about as well. But in each of these programs, so first we want to talk a little about politics and perspective programs. So why should you study in these areas? First is that you can really make a difference. So these are going to be programs where you have a chance to interact with people who are setting policy, who are creating laws and procedures. So being able to do that yourself can be a great way to make a difference. Or in areas like journalism, where you can help to create the public discourse around things that are important that might be happening today. You can advocate and be a part of things that really matter to you. So this is a great way to not only make a difference, but make a difference in things that are personal to you. And that's helps to create change in organizations, change in society. And this is a great way that you can inform others about the world through research and through the knowledge that you come to develop. So with this, what you'll really learn how to do in these programs, all these, you're going to learn to speak and write effectively. So you're going to be able to communicate well in person as well as in writing. You'll understand and impact the big picture. So we talk a lot about critical thinking in our program, to be able to analyze and recognize trends by looking at history, by looking at the big picture instead of going beyond what might be right in front of you. To communicate and understand that to other people as well, and to make connections between the law, the policy, and how that affects people. So these are going to really help you to really be able to make sense and communicate things to other people. So the different areas that we have that we'll be focusing on today are history, international studies, law and constitutional studies, political science, and journalism and communication. And with each of these, there's also a real focus on learning by doing. And we'll show a few quick examples of that. Some of these aren't quite showing up, but so we've got So for example, we have students in history who've created an original medieval trebuchet. A great example that which, I don't know that a lot of history classes are going to cover engineering and how to make a trebuchet, but he was able to he calls it experiential history, learning more about it by actually doing it and understanding the tool as it was used. And not only that, being able to put on an event and help other people to learn that as well. We have political science interns who work at our state and national capital with politicians. Also, we've got students who participated in the UN Commission on the Status of Women last year. So students are able to get directly involved with policymakers and decision makers on a national and international level. We have opportunities also for students to get involved in writing about this as well. So we've got our Aggies Go, which is a website that's entirely student run that explores a lot of international, it stands for Aggies Geopolitical Observatory, I should mention, which is a great way for students to explore a lot of different international issues and to write about that and become experts in that. We have study abroad opportunities where we had students who've studied in history on a World War II in Europe, study abroad, where they experience that directly, as well as sometimes learning about some Shakespeare and having experiences in England along the way also. And in journalism, we have students who are award winners, both as students getting student Emmys and other student awards, but also our graduates have earned multiple awards, up to even a recent student graduate alumni who won a Pulitzer Prize. So these are all ways that students are really get experience really learning directly in their field as they're doing that. So now I want to turn the time over to Andrea to talk a little bit more about what students do with our degrees as they graduate and in their different careers.
Thanks, Tom. So traditionally, the model that many people have thought about for college is that you decide what you're going to major on based on the career you want to go into, and that one major leads to that one career. But increasingly, as college changes, and also, frankly, as the job market changes, right? If you think about the careers that exist today that didn't exist 10 years ago, 5 years ago, things that use technology that weren't in existence when I graduated from college, for example. So much is changing, and education has to keep up with that. And in that vein, we now see that there are many ways to get to one career, many majors that you could combine to get to your goals in life. Or as Tom mentioned earlier in this presentation, combining your major with something like a minor or a certificate, whether that's inside of our college or outside of our college, to diversify your experience and make you a competitive candidate. And more importantly, to see, and again, I really do apologize for the problems we're having with our PowerPoint today. We never had these rendering issues before, but what you should see here is that one major is typically the key to any number of careers. And that's incredibly true in the humanities and social sciences. When we look at the skills that employers are looking for, and I should note that even in the wake of COVID, these skills continue to be the skills that they rely on, because they know that employees need to be able to solve problems. They need to be able to communicate. They need to have initiative. They need to be flexible and adaptable. If you think about all that's going on and all the changes we've all experienced just in the last few months, these skills really come to the forefront in terms of what it is an employer needs from a student when they graduate. And we feel that the College of Humanities and Social Sciences does a great job of making students adaptable and flexible and ready with those communication skills, those problem solving skills, to work as part of a team and to succeed in whatever career it is they want to go into. So I'm going to turn things back over to Tom briefly before we continue with our breakout sessions.
Thanks, Andrea. So before we break out, we'd really encourage you you're going to meet a number of people today in the programs that you're interested in. And we encourage you that you can, if you have other questions, you're welcome to ask us throughout these presentations, but also that you can follow up with us. So you're going to meet some advisors, you're going to meet faculty members and department heads, and these can be some of the people who are going to give you, who you can go to if you have follow-up information. And we hope that you'll do that not only before you start, but that you'll do as you continue on at Utah State. So as you're looking to get ready to start, if you haven't met with your academic advisor, this is a great time to do so, and you can schedule an appointment just at that link that's right on the page. And we're happy to meet with you throughout the summer, and certainly anytime during the fall semester as you're starting up as a student as well. So we look forward to working with you, and our goal is really just to be your guide. We want to help you to figure out exactly what you want to do with your degree, and once you figure that out, we want to help you get there.
All
Next,
right, so sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say now we'll transition into talking about our specific areas here.
Excellent. So again, just as a reminder, we're going to move with history first from 11:45 to approximately 12. Then we're going to move to political science and international studies from approximately 12 to 12:15. And then we will conclude today with journalism and communications from 12:15 to approximately 12:30 and end with some information for you. So I am going to welcome Professor of History Victoria Grieve and Carson Tatton, our history teaching and religious studies advisor in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen and I'll let the two of you take it from here.
Okay, Carson, would you like to go first or should I go first?
I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, you can do the nuts and bolts after I sort of introduce. My name is Victoria Grieve. I'm the Associate Department Head in the History Department. And I just want to say that there's never been a more exciting time for me as a historian. A history degree right now is exciting. It is relevant. We have faculty being contacted to talk about the 1918 flu, if you want to understand Black Lives Matter, if you want to understand a history of police violence. There is a lot of relevance and excitement in a history degree. So our department is focuses on teaching a lot. We're well known for our excellent teachers. We're well known for our sort of personal relationship with our students. We offer a Bachelor of Arts, a Bachelor of Science, and a history teaching degree. About a third of our students go on to teach. When students ask, which we often get the question, what can I do with a history degree? As Andrea and as Tom mentioned, a history degree is one of those humanities degrees that teaches a broad range of skills that prepare students for any number of careers. The obvious ones, you can be a teacher, you can work in education on various levels, in archives, in museums, and in libraries. But a history degree teaches big picture thinking, right? Learn about context, about human behavior, about social change, about current politics. You'll learn communication, both verbal and written skills. You'll learn analytical skills. And all of these prepare you for careers in law or politics, diplomacy, journalism, all of these things. The history department offers a lot of relationships with other departments within the college. So if we're very interdisciplinary. So we have a relationship with an American Studies, with the American Studies Department, with medieval and early modern history, Native American studies, religious studies, and classics are both housed within the Department of History. And we also started a public history track within the department because so many of our students were interested and came in knowing that they wanted to work in a public history field, in a museum setting, in an archive setting. So we've started to develop that track as well, and we have opportunities for internships, both on campus and off campus in a variety of settings. So we're very much engaged with getting students out into the field. We have, as Tom mentioned, we do have a very strong emphasis on undergraduate research within our department. If you go onto our website under undergraduate research, you'll see 3 other examples of faculty and student involvement that have resulted in conference presentations, in publications, and in all sorts of interactive work with faculty. So again, we really prioritize that research relationship with students as well as sort of a teaching relationship. The last couple things I wanted to mention are that we offer a variety of scholarships, which are also visible on our website, so you can go there for more information. We offer, well, throughout the university, an undergraduate teaching fellow opportunity. So if you're interested in teaching, you can work very closely with faculty on that side of the desk, so to speak, and in more of a teaching capacity than a research capacity. So it's another interesting way to get to work closely with faculty. And the last thing, I was the graduate program coordinator in our department before becoming associate department head. So I want to plug our graduate degree as well. If you are within the department, there are a lot of opportunities to interact with faculty who are also teaching graduate classes that can mentor you and bring you forward if you're interested in further graduate work in the department. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Carson. Please type in any questions if you have them, and I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Victoria. You know, first thing I got to say is with the history department, they're some of the best professors you can have here at Utah State. You know, I've worked with a lot of them. They're all fantastic individuals, and you're going to learn some of the best content that you can learn in any major. And, you know, naturally I'm biased. I'm going to say the history major is the best one. Sorry to everyone else on the call, but it's just the truth. But with the history major, your possibilities are endless. Like Victoria said, a lot of our students go on to careers in education, law. They move on to graduate studies and go and obtain master's degrees, PhDs. They work in museums, archives, and all different types of fields. And so with a history degree, you have a lot of options. And the best part about the history department and the degree itself is it's very flexible. Whether your interests are studying the history of Utah and how we came to statehood, or if you're interested in the dynamics of ancient Greece, there's a home for you, and there's going to be classes that you enjoy. And with the history major itself, a lot of those classes you get to choose. A lot of the history courses, there's a large elective section that you get to self-select those history classes that you're specifically interested in. And like Victoria said, with our history major, there's a strong emphasis on teaching and research. And a really big benefit of doing a history major is that you'll be able to come out with an original research project that you'll complete in your capstone that can be a very nice deliverable that you can use for employment applications, as well as applications to graduate school, if that's something you're ever interested in. And so not only do you come out with the knowledge that you want to learn and you want to know that's relevant today, but you're going to come out with skills and deliverables that can help you get that job. Now, just as some nitty-gritty details about the history major, it really is composed of 4 different sections. You complete your general education coursework, your history coursework. All of our history students also are required to get a minor in another subject area. And so if you have other interests that you really like, definitely explore those avenues with a minor. Some really popular ones are political science, English, as well as I've seen students go as far ranging as theater performance. So the world is limitless in that regard. And then also after that, if you do have a desire to teach and go into a teaching profession, we do have a teaching emphasis where we work with our College of Education that can help you eventually become certified to teach in a secondary school. So that'd be a middle school or high school. And then also within the history department, like Victoria said, we have a number of scholarships and opportunities that you can take advantage of. If you're ever interested in a study abroad, I do have to recommend the World Wars in Europe study abroad that Tom had mentioned. One of our department head, Tammy Proctor, usually takes a group of students and they visit different battlefields, cemeteries, and places in Europe that pertain to the different world wars. And it's fantastic. Had I known about that as a student here at USU, I would have taken advantage of that. And then also to go back to being Trebuchet, I'm really sad you didn't get to see the picture, because who doesn't like catapults and medieval warfare? Let's be honest. And so, but the biggest tip that I can advise you on being a history student is come meet with me. Let's talk about your interests. Let's talk about what you like to study. And then let's make a plan to get you moving forward towards graduation. And like Tom said, in the presentation, there's a link to where you can schedule times to meet with me or the different advisors. And so definitely reach out and ask any of those questions that you may have. And then also just another tip of advice, seek to make relationships with your professors. They're going to be your biggest and best allies in helping you move forward, not only in your education, but towards towards jobs as well as graduate school, if that's something you ever desire. And the history department is one of the best places to do that. And so we have a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, we can definitely answer those. You can put those in the chat, or you can ask them, and we're happy to help you.
Thank you so much, Carson and Victoria. I just wanted to add on a few things that you guys mentioned in these last few minutes we have. You know, Carson talked about, and Victoria mentioned this as well, that teaching is one direction that history majors go in. And if you're interested in learning more about history teaching specifically, we will be hosting a virtual tour of all of our teaching certification programs. That is on July 15th at the same time at 11:30. So if you're interested in history but want to learn more about teaching specifically, I would invite you to come back and join us again on July 15th at the same time. I'll also mention the student, and yeah, I so apologize for our PowerPoint issues this morning. You can see, and I've in the background reopened the PowerPoint, and now it appears to be working as intended. But since you missed the trebuchet earlier, I'll see if I can go back to that quickly just to show you. That student in particular, this is the medieval trebuchet that Daniel Bertrand built. That student has stayed in touch with some of us, and I know that he, you know, when he was interested in this project initially, you know, this was something he read about and thought, you know, but came from sort of a background of engineering and wanting to put things together, and wanted to really take the time to do the research to learn how these were constructed without the use of modern tools. And while in the end, Daniel did allow himself to use some modern tools to make this trebuchet, he made it very much to be faithful to the original design. And you might be asking yourself, well, that looks awesome, but what is it? Where did he go from there? And, you know, this led him to a direct experience with a museum back east on the Atlantic coast, where he was helping to restore a Viking ship, a period Viking ship. So he was taking those skills that he learned that were inspired through his history courses and translating them directly into museum applications that he can now take with him into his career. So really just a great example of one thing you might do with these degrees. And I would, you know, I always second the opportunity to study abroad as well, because I did that as a student, and I think it's a great way to enrich your classroom experience. And that is something you should keep in mind today. All the programs we're talking about, in addition to enjoying wonderful faculty and classroom experiences, we also have clubs in all of our programs that really help students then take the things that they love doing and hone them through the opportunity to be leaders in clubs, to take what they're learning out to the community. And so there are other ways you can get involved when you're at Utah State University that will take you outside the classroom. Carson or Victoria, anything to add before we move to our next breakout session? I'm just going to advance our slides back to that starting point.
I did want to have your comment about Daniel and his engineering past made me think about some of the business professors who I've spoken with, who have students who, you know, want to do marketing in China. And so they come to us and say, our students need Chinese history or some sort of history so they can learn about the culture of the place in which they want to then go do business. So I encourage students to really think creatively about the uses of a history degree and connecting it with things that don't automatically come to mind, like engineering and like business.
Very good point. Very well said, Victoria. Thank you so much. So thank you, Victoria Grieve. Thank you, Carson Tatton. Again, we'll have contact information for Victoria and Carson at the end of today's presentation. So if you have follow-up questions for them or want to make an appointment with Carson to explore the history major, you'll have the opportunity to reach out to them later in this presentation. With that, we're going to move to our next breakout session, and I'm going to welcome the department head of the Political Science Department, Anthony Peacock, and its advisor, Dan Matthews, to take over for our next session. And with that, I will turn things over to Tony and Dan.
Okay, can you all hear me? Okay, thanks for joining us all today. I'm Tony Peacock. I'm, as Andrea pointed out, the department head. of the political science department. I also teach constitutional law and political theory in the department. And as Victoria pointed out, it's not only a very interesting time to be an historian, it's an equally interesting time to be a political scientist. This is a presidential election year. And as I'm sure you're all aware, we had the primaries, the Republican primaries last night. And we're still tallying everything today. And there's an interesting gubernatorial race going on in which it looks like Lieutenant Governor Cox might be the Republican nominee going into the governor's race in the fall. He's slightly ahead of former Governor John Huntsman. And I'm happy to say that Lieutenant Governor Cox, maybe our future Governor Cox, is a political science graduate. He actually did his degree in the political science department. He was our valedictorian the year that he graduated, which was 1998, and I got here in 1997, and I'm happy to say that Lieutenant Governor Cox was one of the first students I advised as the pre-law advisor to the political science program. He went on and did a law degree and then went on and practiced law, as many of you know, and then entered politics shortly after that. So he's a good example of what you can do with a political science degree. I should just, before I get too far along, just emphasize that we have 3 degrees that you can pursue in the political science department. The first is a political science degree, obviously enough. The second one is an international studies degree. And the third is a law and constitutional studies degree that a couple of us created about 20 years ago that focuses on the theoretical and political origins of the law. We like to think that it's not just the lawyers and the law schools that get to discuss the meaning of law and the origins of law. Law originated originally through the discipline of politics, and we have a very extensive program in that area as well. The political science department has had a number of majors over the years, and we've won a number of teaching awards over that same period of time. And I like to think that we're so popular that our faculty even go on to be interim department heads of other departments like JCOM. You're going to hear from Damon Kahn here in a few minutes, who's the interim department head of the JCOM department. And I just want to emphasize that he's on loan from our department. Damon is a very popular American government and legislative politics professor in our department. And we've agreed to loan him to the JCOM department for an extensive commission and price for this year. And he is the individual that usually directs our political science honors program, Pi Sigma Alpha, which again is a nationally recognized program. We've won a number of national awards with Damon as the director of that program. We've won a number of national awards with him, and prior to that with Professor Bill Furlong, who directed the program before that. Just a couple other things before I hand the mic over to Dan Matthews, our advisor. I often get the question, what can you do with a political science degree? And a political science degree is actually a very good degree to have for a whole host of business pursuits. It's a very good degree to have if you want to go into law. I mentioned Lieutenant Governor Cox, who himself went to Washington and Lee for his law degree, then came back here and practiced. We have a lot of former USU political science majors who are practicing law here in the state of Utah and elsewhere. But the political science degree, because it gives you such good communicative and analytical skills, is actually a very good degree to have if you want to go into business, if you want to work at a think tank or a public policy institute. We have a number of students that work in the Utah government, in agencies and departments throughout the government. Justin Lee, who works in Lieutenant Governor Cox's office and is the director of elections for the state, is a former a student of ours and actually a former student of mine. He was my teaching assistant for a number of years. Justin also went on to get a law degree and is now in a very important position in Utah state government. But it's also a very good degree to have if you want to go into business. And we've had actually a number of our former students who have gone on to a variety of different business practices come back and talk to our students about how they ended up doing what they're doing via a degree in political science. The last thing I just wanted to emphasize is that this is going to be a bit of an awkward year with the COVID-19 issues. And I'm sure, many of you may have questions about that. And if you do have any specific questions about how we might conduct classes or how all of this is going to shake out for you as prospective students, I'm happy to answer any of those questions. So let me leave it at that. I think I've used up my 5 minutes or so here, and I will pass the mic over to Dan Matthews, our advisor for political science. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to either ask me now, or if you want to contact me, just look my name up on the web. It's Anthony Peacock. If you go to our political science website, you can find me. Feel free to send me an email or give me a call. I've got easy access to both, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Or if you want, just type up a question in the chat box and I'll be happy to answer it. So with that, thanks again for participating in all of this today, and I'll pass the floor over to Dan Matthews.
All right, can everybody hear me? Good. My name is Dan Matthews. I am the advisor for political science, international studies, law and constitutional studies, and I also advise for the minors offered by the political science department. They're political science, and there's a political science teaching minor. So if you have a history teaching major and want to be certified in another area, like political science, there's a political science teaching minor, and we also have an international studies minor. A couple of things about the nuts and bolts of these majors and minors is they all tend to be fairly short. Political science is a 36 credit major, and law and constitutional studies is also a 36 credit major. We have no minor requirement, but that leaves time for students to do languages, minors, internships. We highly encourage internships, and we have lots of contacts for them. We also encourage students to broaden their horizons a little bit and look at other things that they can do. We have research opportunities, things like that they can do with the other portions of their remaining credits. I'm also the pre-law advisor for campus, so anybody that's interested from any major is welcome to come and see me about pre-law, but primarily my position is for the political science department. One thing that I always need to mention is a lot of students are scared when they're coming as freshmen to college. They've heard from their instructors in high school that it's the cold, sterile world and your instructors won't know who you are. I can reassure you that it's nothing like that here at Utah State, and especially within the political science department. All of the professors that work for the political science department are student-centered. They love to have students come and speak with them. They will learn your name. How quickly sometimes is good or bad, but they enjoy their job. And if they didn't, I don't think they'd be here. There's lots of other opportunities in the world. But you will find your home in your, your study groups and things like that, working with the other students and with the political science instructors. One thing that I get from students all the time is how engaging and how friendly their instructors are, and how it's the total opposite of all the scare stories they heard in high school. So I just wanted to share that with you. The only honorary person in the department is probably their advisor, but I'm okay after a while. I love to talk to freshmen. I love to talk about your ideas and your goals. I like to set up sample plans so you can see how different types and different ideas that you have would work, how they would fit in with your schedule, We like to look at things like when would be good times to do internships, when would be good times to develop other skills as you go along, whether those be languages or communication skills and things like that. We also look at the pacing on when you might want to take things like graduate exams or the LSAT for instruction after your bachelor's degree. One thing about political science is it's good preparation for a lot of things that you go into later. And we have a large number of our students that do master's degrees and PhDs, both within political science or one of its subsets. That's one thing the faculty is very experienced about, is talking to students about graduate school. So if that's in your plans after, there are lots of resources that I can direct you to. One thing, gosh, I'm almost out of time here. I guess the biggest thing that I could leave you with is that this is a unique time for you when you come to school. It's different from any other time in your life. You have the ability to get involved. You have the ability to try out clubs. You have the ability to try out leadership positions. You have the ability to work with people far above your pay grade with internships and things like that, and to network and to really put yourself out there. Those are the types of people that seem to do best, are those that are willing to take a few risks, willing to take a few extra things on as they go through school. So that's all I've got. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And just to build off of something you said, Dan, I've been fortunate in my position with the college to work with several peer advisors and ambassadors. And I have to say that our students who are either majoring or minoring in political science come to us with professional skills because they're learning those while doing. As Tom talked about, that's true of all of our majors. In political science in particular, I can think of those students who are participating in internships, and Tony, you referenced this, whether they're working for the lieutenant governor's office or they're getting an opportunity working with their representatives in Washington, D.C. Our college enjoys a close relationship with the Institute of Government and Politics here on the campus of Utah State University, which is headed by two CHaSS alums. And they do a great job, as does the political science department itself, of connecting our students to opportunities, whether it be here in the state of Utah, in the home states of students, or in Washington, D.C., and even abroad. So if you're interested in politics, if you're interested in gaining hands-on experience while you're still an undergrad, there are great opportunities to do that with this department. So I just wanted to underscore that. Dan or Tony, anything you want to add before we move on to our next presentation?
Yes, Andrea, can you hear me again?
Yes.
I'd just like to, that was one point that I should have emphasized perhaps a little bit, and thanks, Andrea, for bringing it up, is that Neil Abercrombie, who again is a former political science student who runs the IOGP, the Institute of Government Affairs, is very well connected. He knows virtually every politician in the state legislature, and he knows all of our federal senators and members of Congress. And we have a very extensive internship program both in Washington and in Salt Lake. And if you're interested in practical hands-on experience, I think we have one of the best internship programs in the Mountain West, not just in the state, but in the Mountain West. And we have a lot of students who have had a very good experience interning in Washington and interning in Salt Lake, and they've actually been able to translate those experiences into long-term jobs in both cities. So if you're interested in either federal politics or state and local politics, the political science program has a lot of good opportunities for you to pursue. Thanks, Andrea.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tony. And thank you, Dan. Thank you both for telling us about these programs. And internships, I think, is a good segue to our final department today. We're going to be hearing from Interim Department Head Damon Kahn and our Advisor for Journalism and Communications, Stacy Kelly. So Damon and Stacy, I'd love to turn things over to you and let you tell us about programs in the Journalism and Communication Department.
Hi, my name is Damon Can, as Andrea said, and Tony, my regular department head in political science. I'm the interim chair of the political science department. Excited to tell you a little bit about some of the really interesting things going on in the journalism and communication department. Uh, a lot of students, when we first talk to them about journalism and communication, say journalism is dying. Newspapers are going under and things are not going well for your line of work. To that, I would reply that newspapers, maybe traditional print newspapers, may be struggling in significant ways. That's definitely true. But journalism is not dead. If anything, we have more news content available to people right now today than has ever been available in the history of the earth. The difference that we have some changes in the way that the news is being delivered, but news remains a really important and central feature of our world today. We also do a lot of work on public relations in the journalism and communication department. So if you have interest in PR from a political perspective or from a corporate or other nonprofit perspective, JCOM is the place to do the work. So if you have interest in helping people understand and see and know things from the perspective that you want to share and want to be engaged in persuasion and outreach campaigns, the communication, the mass communication side of journalism and communication is something that we're really great at in our department. So I'm going to hit just a couple of additional points and then turn the time over to Stacy, our department advisor. First of all, there are 4 emphases available in a journalism and communication degree. The journalism, we have our print journalism track, which is where you learn the ins and outs of journalistic writing. So whether you end up writing for a printed newspaper, for a magazine, for online sites, those kinds of things, the writing techniques that are used in news writing are the same across all of those platforms. So we have our traditional print journalism track. After that, we have our broadcast journalism track. There's some really amazing things going on in this track in our department. We have several faculty members who are trained in video production, and the only place on all of USU's campus where you can study video production is out of the journalism and communication department. So whether it's a 2-minute message that you might be trying to promote on YouTube, a 30-second commercial to run on broadcast television, or a full-length, we have a documentary class. We have coursework on a wide range of things. We even run our own Aggie TV news broadcasts students get engaged with. All facets of video production are things that can develop skill and facility in our department. Our third track is public relations and corporate communication. We have a number of students who have, since today's theme is politics, then we have a number of our students who have taken the PR track and gone on to work in campaigns and lobbying, helping people to understand the messages that have been strategically honed and broadcast, and how to get the word out on the ideas and information that you want to have public. The key part of what public relations. A lot of people in PR go forward with nonprofit organizations and do work with them. And then, of course, there's the corporate side as well. And business communication is a great way, and marketing PR type of work is a great skill that you can pick up in a department as well, and a lucrative one at that. Finally, we have the social media emphasis, which is relatively new, just in the last couple of years that we've started to offer this. There's so much more to reaching out through social media than downloading a couple of apps or trying to have the wittiest post on Twitter or the coolest new picture for your Instagram feed. get into the analytics of social media, how to measure what your messages are doing. We talk about the front end, how to hone the right message, how to target it and receive it, and so some really interesting and exciting things going on in social media as well. The last thing that I'll kind of highlight, because an army of lawn guys seem to be coming in next door and blowing really hard, is our faculty are outstanding, and they love to work with our students. Our faculty are both trained professionally as print journalists. We have one who ran a newspaper as an editor. We've got guys who have done broadcast work that shows up on major TV networks throughout Utah all the time. We have people who have run PR campaigns with their career and come back to teach with us. We're outstanding on the theory, but we're also really great at the practical application. And when students leave our programs, they have a great portfolio, not just to say, I've learned how to do the things that I've been taught, but instead to actually say, I've already done the things that I want me to do as an employer. So with that and an awful lot of background noise that you're probably hearing, I'm going to turn it over to Stacy.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Stacy Kelly. I am the advisor for journalism, and I am a CHaSS girl, so my major was in history, so history is also really a good major if you're interested in that, and I've also worked with the political science department. So these people are all great people, and they are invested in their students. I've seen it on all sides. So you're really lucky to come to Utah State. We're excited to have you here, and we want to work with you. So just a little bit more, I'm going to touch a little bit more on journalism. Journalism does require a minor. We only the social media track has 39 credits, which is the most credits we have in any of our tracks. So we do require that minor, and you can minor in anything from accounting to yoga studies. We have 120 minors at Utah State. So any one of those minors will work. And I have seen a little bit of everything. Political science is an awesome minor that goes with our degrees. A lot of our students have done political science. Whether you want to report, be on the broadcast and print side and report politics, or whether you're a public relations person and you want to be more involved in the actual political side of things, it's a great minor to have. We have many internships all across the board. As Damon said, our professors have worked in the industry, so they have lots of contacts, and it's a great thing to have those contacts. They will reach out to you, let you know of internships that are available. Again, whether it's with a news company or whether it's with an actual corporation, they have those contacts and can help you get those internships. We have lots of scholarships available to students. There's over $20,000 that we give every year to students, so make sure you're applying for those scholarships. They're there and they're available. If you're interested in writing, I saw a question about being part of the student newspaper. It's not part of the journalism department, but a lot of our students do work for the Statesman, and that's the newspaper there. You can write stories for them, get paid a little bit on the side, get an internship. We also have Utah Public Radio as part of our college, and a lot of our students do internships with that UPR, and that gives you that writing background, as well as a little bit. I've heard students, it's fun to turn that on and hear some of my students actually on the radio and hear them. There is another, and I'm forgetting the radio station's name, but there is an Aggie radio station. I think it's called Aggie Radio. So, and that's another way that you can get involved. It's not part of the department, but we sure do encourage you to go out, get involved, do those things that interest you and that sound fun. That's part of it. We have clubs in the journalism department. Public relations has PRSSA. They've won several awards in their clubs as well. Yeah, a little bit about each area. Prints. We have the Aggie Blueprint, which is a student-run magazine. This the students do the layout, they do the writing, they do all the photography, every part of it. And then there's just an advisor that goes along with that, a faculty advisor that helps guide students. They don't really participate, they're just there maybe give you a little money and to help guide you through that process of running a magazine. So that's a great thing to be part of. Our professors have been in the industry, so if there is a big news story that's happening here in Logan, the news stations will get in touch with our faculty and say, hey, will you send a student out and have them do some photography work, write up a little story, and then it gets aired on the Salt Lake stations. So we have students who already have their work out there and going. So great opportunities in the journalism department. I am here to answer any questions. I want to partner with you in getting your degree. So whether it's how many credits you have left, what minors sound interesting and fun, I'm here to help guide you through that. So please make sure to contact me if you have any questions.
And thank you so much, Stacey and Damon. I would just add that, you know, as someone who works with the alumni from our college, I've been fortunate to meet with a number of alums who have graduated from the JCOM program. And I think one thing, and several of our faculty today from history and political science and journalism and communication have all touched on this, that, you know, going back to what I said at the start of the presentation, is sometimes you come to college with a very clear idea of exactly what you want to do when you graduate. And sometimes you go on to do that very thing. But sometimes your interests change, or sometimes you discover something you didn't know about when you started as a freshman. And I've talked to so many JCOM alumni who have gone on to work in corporate communications, for example, or to work in various fields of marketing and PR. So we obviously, it's an obvious go-to that we have alumni who are working for stations in Salt Lake City, for stations around the country, for writing for newspapers and for other news agencies. Those are sort of obvious go-tos, but I just wanted to point out that the JCOM degrees are a very flexible and versatile degree that can take students in a lot of different directions, even if they haven't yet discovered what that direction is. Stacey or Damon, anything you want to add before we conclude today?
I don't think so. There was one question in the chat that just asked for a little more information on print, and I think I started talking a little bit more about that after that question came up. But if there are any additional questions, just shoot me an email, Damon, D-A-M-O-N, .can, C-A-N-N, @usu.edu. I'd love to swap some emails. We can set up a time to have an individual visit, and Stacey's always available advising for Zoom calls, phone calls, as well as discussion. We'd love to tell you more about what we've got going on.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So as we conclude today, I just want to leave you all with a few points of information. So here on the current screen, you can see Damon's just given us his contact information. We have contact information here listed for everyone who is with us today. Chris Garf, who's listed here, is another professor in the journalism and communication department. He couldn't be with us today after all, but you're still welcome to reach out to him. As Damon mentioned, they have industry professionals who work in the department, and Chris is one of those, and in particular works with students in broadcast. So if you have questions specifically about broadcast journalism, he'd be a great resource. You also have contact information for myself and for my co-presenter, Tom Lilligren, who had to leave us early today. We're here to answer questions for you as well. And I'll also point to the link at the bottom of the slide. If you would like to come back and watch this recording or see any of the other virtual tours that we've done this summer for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, you're welcome to do that using this link. CHaSS.usu.edu is our main page, /explore will get you to the links to all of our content that we've done this summer, as well as the content we have coming up. We have 2 more virtual tours on the next 2 Wednesdays, so join us for those if you're interested in learning more. As several of our advisors and faculty have referenced today, our college is a very versatile one. Many of our minors are light enough in terms of their credit load that you can either double major or you can add a minor or add a certificate to make yourself more diverse. So find a way to really get involved and know that that's an option with our college. The last thing I'll leave everybody with is a light on the hill. So this is something that the College of Humanities and Social Sciences does every year at the start of the fall semester to welcome students and faculty and our community back to campus. In particular, we invite new students, and we know that may include many of you who've listened today or have come back to listen to this recording. We invite you to join us for this event because it's a great way to just sort of celebrate everything CHaSS. We feature presentations from our student senators. We feature presentations from alumni who come back and talk about their experiences. So it's just a great kickoff to the new semester. Due to COVID-19, this will be a virtual event this year. You'll see that there's information here on the slide that I'm sharing that will give you information on how you can watch that. It will be on Tuesday, September 1st at 7 p.m. So we just invite everyone to come back and learn a bit more about our college on that day. So I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who joined us today, to thank all of my presenters today, and to thank you all for your patience with technology. It sometimes gets the best of us, but thank you everyone for sailing through and making it through despite that. And I wish everyone a wonderful afternoon from the College of Humanities and Social Sciences at Utah State University. Thank you again for joining us. Have a great day.